Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Wolf's Watch. Did you see that graphic that was just up, or actually the photo? Is that look delicious? Wait a minute, I'm going to show this to you again. Hang on a second. Is that cool or what? Specifically for doctors, nurses, first responders, it's just something to imagine. It looks delicious, but it's also kind of pokes some fun on the situation they have found themselves in. Has been going through the pandemic, through the Great Shutdown, and today we have a awesome entrepreneur that will be joining us. Excuse me, an award-winning entrepreneur and philanthropist that does catering, desserts specifically. And guess what happened? In March when the Great Shutdown started, all the events were canceled. So what do you do in a situation like that? You say no problem and start applying your philanthropist skills to creating refreshments, a fun break, a fun dessert for the doctors and nurses, and then go on to crowdfund it and just explode that whole business. And here's a couple more fun photos. Check this out. There's some happy people there getting a box of some actual goodness. Here's check this out. This is some because this got local traction, and then even more in the broader media through press release that went viral. Here's some of the places that this got highlighted. So this is a great case study for you as an entrepreneur. And also, it is a fun story in turbulent times. I want to share some more photos with you here. Check this out. Here's some more happy people getting some. Is that incredible? Man, it's making me hungry watching this. Oh my gosh. What else have we got? I have a couple more photos to share. Here, you want to close? Here's a close up of what that sugary goodness looks like. Dang, that looks good. Let's see if I can smack my microphone here one more time and get it shaking some more. I'm sorry. Saw that it looked so good. I was like, whoa, and poof, smacked right into my microphone off camera. You couldn't see that one. And here is the person that made it all possible. The ever intrepid Sarah Bucksbaum. Her brand is Celebrate with Sarah. She was part of our TV show, in our Women in Leadership series, where she was telling her story of how she went from $6 to six figures in the space of about 4 years. Through a horrible story in terms of having a group of business partners just absolutely not behave in an honorable way and taking the money and running and leaving her with a bunch of bills, which eventually got sorted. But court judgments are paper. Actually, collecting is the second half of the problem. But it really helped clear her conscience and put her in a position where she was starting her business. The day she filed her business license, she literally had $6 in her pocket left over. Imagine that. And she tells a great story about how that actually became a positive because it forced her to innovate. A lot of times it's, hey, we spend money on this, spend money on that. I've been guilty of that. It's like, oh, I'll invest in this tool, or I'll invest in this training program. That's the silver bullet that's going to make the difference. Not so. There's no silver bullet, right? It's lots of hard work, continual innovation, building relationships with clients, customers, affiliates, business partners, peers, colleagues, and being tenacious, which Sarah Bucksbaum totally is, unbelievably tenacious. I want to share something else with you here. Here this morning. See if I can pull this off. I want to share screen with you. Today, she was honored in with in Shout Out LA, right? Where they did I'm going to scroll down on this for you. Where they did an article on her, Sarah Bucksbaum, award-winning entrepreneur, business owner, and philanthropist. There's Sarah with her award-winning smile. They talked about her business. So go to Shout Out LA and for more information on that, to get the full story on that. And Now, let me learn how to get out of the screen share. Okay. I'm glad you're with us and you stay along. Here we go. There's the screen share. So it is a great story about Sarah, the work that she's been doing. So go to Shout Out LA for the full article. There's a lot of other great interviews, especially if you're local to Southern California, about what's happening in the region. Sarah should be with us soon. Hopefully, I didn't create another problem with like I did on Saturday, and because we confirmed this time, and it's just let me share this with you, and I will be right back. I was just double checking to see if she had reached out because we were certainly set for 3:30 today and didn't get an emergency message. So we will see what happens. I'm just checking to see if there was an emergency text. Sometimes that does happen. Here we go. Hang on just a second. Sarah is texting me. Pardon my reading glasses. Okay, so we are once again having a link problem. So let me keep this on and we will come back to this and see if we can get her in. We're having another challenge with getting the right people in the right place. Hey, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us from Kansas City. How are you today? I am working to get the link to Sarah. Well, we do what we can. And for now, we will keep working. Sarah! There she is. Sarah, thanks for joining us. I'm so sorry about the confusion.
No, that's okay. I was clicking all the different links and none of them were working. I just clicked it again. I closed out and I re-clicked it. I'm not sure what happened.
Well, it was because of a problem that I created on Saturday. I had to send a new link, which is what created the confusion. So some of the people watching today were with us then. Hang on a second. I'm going to put my headphones on so I don't create some echo. And so the confusion I created on Saturday created more confusion today. Thank you so much for joining us. I was just sharing some of the pictures as part of the intro and introducing you to those that are watching, that are here with us, and the way that is set up. I can't share them again now that you're in the stream because we'll have to remove both of us. But it was just showing some of the photos that you sent.
Well, yeah, I saw on
Facebook. My gosh.
I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, wait, I'm not on the call, but I'm seeing it on Facebook.
So again, I apologize. Thank you so much.
That's okay. That's okay.
And thank you so much for being here with us. And I was sharing your Shout Out LA article today too.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, they Voyage LA has had me on their publication a few times, and they just started this new one. And they reached out to me to do like a Q&A type thing about what everyone's going through. And so it was so cool.
Well, and what you created was just phenomenal. And to watch that just explode and go viral and get national attention was incredible. Could you share a little bit of that story?
Yeah, I mean, I had no intention of any of that. I never even thought it would be that big. Obviously, when coronavirus hit, and I'm in the event industry, and I was like, oh, are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I've only used StreamYard a few times. So yeah, I had nothing. I didn't really know what to do at the beginning, and then after a few weeks, I was missing, being in the kitchen, all these things. I'm like, there's got to be something I can do right now. I have all this stuff, and so it turned into a small thing. And then I was like, well, I have, few thousand followers on Instagram. I have people who want to support, what I'm doing. And so I kind of opened it up to everyone, and then it got picked up by media, and then I was in the
Wow.
newspaper, and I didn't realize people still read the newspaper. I had people emailing me who saw it in the paper. I was like, what? People still read the Sunday newspaper? And I mean, I had a huge spread on there. I framed it. It was like 2 full pages in the Ventura County Star, which is our local big
Oh
county
my gosh.
paper.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't believe it. And then it just kept going and going and going. Now I'm not doing it anymore. I think I kind of ran its course with it, but I
Sure.
had a good, probably month and a half, 2 months.
Well, and what an incredible response to being in a situation where your business was basically shut down because you do live events.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so you used your philanthropist skills and mindset, because you also have a foundation that you started, and turned that into, well, how can you help? How can you do something for especially the doctors and nurses that were just getting so overwhelmed in March, April, May? Now, did you also run a crowdfunding effort on that to help?
Not through that. So the crowdfunding was for Nashville, the investment campaign.
Okay.
This, I just opened it up. If people wanted to contribute, $10, I would match it. So I just opened it up through a link. I mean, I guess so
it's an informal crowdfunding in a sense.
Yeah, very informal. It was just, I shared a link if people wanted to, send $10, $20, whatever they wanted, to basically just buy cupcakes for the community. And then it just kept going and going, and it turned into, I ended up shipping like 5,000 cookies to New York City. I had
5,000.
I don't ship right now. Wow. So I had to figure out how to do all that, and it was hot, and and then everything had to be individually packaged, and but the cool thing is I was able to hire people to help me.
Oh, wow.
2 local cookie artists were able to help me. Both moms to young kids. So they were so grateful. So I really tried to, as it got more and more momentum, I couldn't keep up with it myself, but I was like, you know what, I can hire people to do it, and it's helping them. And it was not in any way meant to be, for me to make money or anything. I didn't, it just, I really couldn't believe it. But I mean, you know me, I like to do everything for a purpose. I like the philanthropy side of things. And so things like I was like, this is just an opportunity for me to help people.
Well, it's incredible how just a shift in perspective like that, and looking at how you can contribute, during the downtime, business wise, turned into such a big project, but also an opportunity to hire other people. And it had chain reaction.
Oh yeah. And
so many people that wanted, it's like, yeah, I'll put $10 in,
so many. I probably had 100 people, over 100 people jump on board to do it. And it was like, it was really when things were really bad. I was really upset about everything because I really overnight lost my business. It was the beginning of coronavirus, and then everyone was canceling every event forever. No one knew what was going on. And so I was very depressed. I was like, what do I do? And then I'm like, hey, one, you're an entrepreneur, figure it out. You have a nonprofit, do something with it. You have a refrigerator full of stuff. Cause I had events. So when I started the Sweet Gratitude, I had events that were canceled.
So you'd already bought them. You'd already bought what you needed to bake and create for those events. Oh, geez.
My fridge was full. I'm like, I have to be able to do something with this.
Now, and as you're watching this, if you're not familiar with Sarah, when she says her refrigerator was full, she has an industrial kitchen that she built out. It is part of her business. So it's not just, it's not like a cooler or a refrigerator you have in, this is like almost a walk-in. It's a huge space. So we're talking a lot of stuff.
I had a huge wedding that weekend for over 200 people.
Oh,
so I had, I wish I remember, I probably had 50 eggs in there and probably 100 sticks of butter. Like a ton of stuff. It wasn't like, I have an extra dozen eggs laying around. Like I had hundreds of dollars of stuff. And then, like I said, I kind of did it as a, okay, just do something this one weekend and do something good. And then as it got momentum, I mean, that's what I love to do. If I could just help people all the time as my job, that would be, that's the dream. Um, and, it was great. It was a really cool thing that, for my community. And
Mhm.
I'm working on something right now to try to do something like that again. Not with dessert, but what can I do? I have a platform. I'm not doing events at least till next year, since I'm in,
Wow.
the LA area is where I'm
Mhm.
based. And events are not coming back here anytime soon. So now I'm kind of working on what do I do now? Nashville's still going to happen, hopefully in the next month or two. But as far as events, I mean,
Speaking of Nashville, I think so that as for could you give an update and a description of
yeah.
what that is? Because I know there's like for example, let me introduce you to Kimberly from Kansas City. She's not familiar with your project in
Oh,
Nashville,
this
I
is
don't
so cool.
believe.
I can't see who's watching or
So it's like Kimberly Hausman from Kansas City. Thank you for joining us again. So if you would just what is the whole Nashville project
yeah.
about? Now watch this. You're gonna love what Sarah's
Oh,
doing in Nashville.
I'm so excited. So I am opening a celebration house for girls' trips, business retreats or bachelorette parties or something very feminine, and very works out, with all
Hmm.
this because it's for small groups to celebrate, get together, birthday parties, whatever. And kind of like a Airbnb meets boutique hotel is how I describe it. Very
Wow.
high-end hospitality, all the little details, very focused, a very curated experience for
Hmm.
women. And
Well, and I've always thought Airbnb is a great idea, but geez, for women, it seems that could be a little iffy.
yeah,
How can you really trust the environment that you're going into? And it's probably not necessarily, especially if it's one of the guys we're running it. It may not be quite as neat and clean as you would hope when you get there.
exactly. Yeah, it's very I like the very like homey feel of being, in a really cute, cozy house, but I also love the experience you get when you're checking into the Four Seasons and they have all the
Good
little,
point.
you know, um, but less stuffy than, like a Ritz Carlton. Like, I
Hmm.
don't I like the very cozy, and that's what when you're with your girlfriends. That's you want that nice experience, but you also want it. I have crystal chandeliers that I already have for the house. Just really beautiful details, fresh flowers, chilled champagne when they check in, um, very comfortable bedding, and all the amenities of a really nice hotel, but in a house.
Now, how did you come up with this idea of doing this?
To be honest, I don't really know. I was in Nashville because I love it there. I was there for my birthday, celebrating my 30th birthday last year, and I that's where I always went for my celebrations, and
Okay.
I just love the vibe. It's just so like low key but fun. Like I'm not a Vegas person. I don't know if you've been to Nashville, but it is like the most amazing city. And so when I was there, I my original idea was to buy a house, so because it was more affordable, and it's not affordable where I live in Southern California to buy a house. So that was kind of the original idea. And then I'm like, well, I could kind of do a business. I could figure out a way to make a business out of this. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. I could take what I do, what people hire me for dessert tables, creating this beautiful, you know, centerpiece basically at their wedding, and make it even bigger and turn it into a house and an experience for a whole weekend. And so then it just kind of kept going and going and going. And then I realized I could tie my foundation back into it. So a percentage of all the room nights are going back to my foundation to do projects with children around the world. I've done about 10
Which
big projects.
which which started when you were doing
Yeah.
some work in Africa
Yeah.
with another not-for-profit group.
Yeah. My first time I went, I was with a different group. And then I just started my own because why have a middleman when you can do it yourself? And so since then, I've been back. I've done about 10 projects there. Um, it's been about probably 5 years since I've been back there, but I never really was able to do that with just the dessert business. Then when Nashville started, it was a more steady, it's a more steady thing. And it's just part of the experience. So while these girls are celebrating their milestones, a portion of that is also going to help, kids celebrate other milestones in school.
Yes.
So it's just kind of a whole circle of celebration.
I'm just checking in with someone real quick. This is fun with live. This is just amazing. But so it's just amazing. You have using the word amazing a lot. You got so much triggered in my head right now. I can't get the words out. This is incredible. And it's just because we've had a chance to talk. We've got to know you and to know your story, and the fact that you started out as a result of a horrible business failure, which is what led to Celebrate with Sarah. Find yourself once again in a tough situation. You turn that around. You're still feeding and doing good work through your not-for-profit, your foundation that you created. Is just an incredible story, especially given the larger environment we find ourselves in. I mean, how do you keep focused on that, stay positive? Because it is, we've all, like you, I've had those days where I like get up in the morning, I'm just like, oh, it's just a fear day. And it's like, man, it's hard, like moving through molasses, hard to get through that day. But I put one foot in front of the other and get through the day. I mean, how do you do that?
I mean, honestly, I think everything I went through, without getting into the whole thing about how I started my business and losing all that money and everything, I think going through such a huge loss and being so broke and having everything taken away from me, and I've already experienced a business changing overnight and losing everything. So this was a totally different experience. I mean, I truly, when I found out in March about all of this, I didn't think, I thought it was going to be 2 months and it would be fine. But going through everything I went through before I started my business and starting over, basically, it made it easier this time around because I wasn't really starting over. I already had an amazing, I've already created a good business, several businesses. I realized that I can't just shut down. I was noticing on social media and everything, I'm like, you can't just like go. I spent almost 5 years building Celebrate with Sarah. I'm like, okay, obviously you're not going to be doing events, but you can't just let your whole business crumble. You have to stay in the spotlight somehow and do something. And I didn't want to start like a new product. I didn't want to like reinvent the dessert business because that will come back eventually.
Oh yes, we all love our desserts. I mean, that's not going away.
No, weddings, all that, it's going to come back. But I mean, I know on social media and all the press and everything is very positive. This has been very hard. It's very hard. Some days I don't do anything related to work. I hang out with the dogs. I lay by the pool. I'm just like, no one really knows what's going on. So we can only do what we can do. I don't push if I'm not feeling creative, if I don't, I just kind of let it be. I've never had this much free time. I mean, and I don't really know what to do with it. And I know there's so much, and this is, I think, all business owners, we all know we could be doing a million things. I could be blogging every day. But some days it's not on a lot of levels for the business owners, for the client, all my clients who aren't getting married, who they're supposed to be getting married and they're canceling it. Everything. I mean, I just raised $65,000 from investors for this new business that keeps getting delayed. So that is stressful because I'm like, oh, they're going to be so mad at me. And everyone's very understanding, but
and that's a good point. I've been finding that too, because we're all in the same situation. So I've been finding a lot of situations where we'd expect people to go, hey, wait a minute, we're off schedule, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, you know what? We get it. We're in the same situation. So let's, and because you've been communicating with everyone, it seems that helps to, so that they have that confidence that you're still after it in your usual tenacious manner in terms of doing what you can day to day.
Exactly. And the thing is with any brand, anyone who supports your business and they trust you as a person. And
Yes.
it's the, just staying in communication. I've seen a lot of businesses crumble because they just fall off the planet.
Hmm.
And, it's like, well, I have no business, so I can't do anything. And I mean, I haven't done an event since January,
Wow.
and I'm still managing to get myself into the media, keeping up on social media when I can, using different tools that just different resources. And I'm learning a lot of different things. Like I'm learning about Google ads. I'm learning about affiliates. I'm on
Oh,
the days.
good.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there are still a lot of good opportunities out there.
Hmm.
But I think the most important is to just keep your name top of mind because things will come back. And so many, like I said, I mean,
So it's. I have a question for you. This is stuck in my mind since you talked
yes,
about the cookie artists. So one of the photos that you had sent showed these cute. They look like cookies. They were made
yes.
to look like prescriptions and soap bars. That was what you shipped to New York.
Yeah. So
Oh
I,
my gosh.
I had this idea that, what could I do that's just so unique? And
Hmm.
so I was talking to my friend who does amazing cookies, and I told her, I was like, I want them to look like pills and prescription bottles and very custom, because my whole thing is the reason I've been able to build a business I have is because of the experience. It's extra special. So I didn't want to just send chocolate chip cookies. I mean, not, that would have been nice, but that's just not me. I like to go over the top. And so I was like, "Can you do this?" And she was like, "Yes." And so she did one order for me. And I think it was like I did some locally, a couple dozen. And then I call her, I'm like, "Hey, can you do like 500 of these?" And then I was
Wow.
like, "Can you do 1,000 of these?" And I mean, she was in tears. She has two small kids. She had no business either.
Jeez.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we had a nice moment where, I mean, we were both, she was just, it was sad we couldn't hug each other or anything because we had to take all these precautions. And but it was just like, I had this idea to keep my business afloat, which that's not even what it was.
Hmm.
It ended up being so much more than that. I mean, I would drop stuff off at the hospital, and they would see it was because it was not, I mean, everyone was doing nice things. And but it was just something that it just felt a little bit more personalized. And then it spread beyond hospitals. I ended up working with a women's shelter in
Oh,
Los Angeles, Alexandria House, with a lot of,
perfect.
yeah, because I didn't even think about it, how many people were escaping abusive relationships,
Hmm.
um, how many women lost their jobs, or what, so many things, and they were going to the shelter, they homeless. I mean, it turned into, just like I said, I couldn't even have imagined that so many levels of, people were impacted. And um yeah, I think I did like 1,000 cookies and cupcakes and stuff to Alexandria House. The kids had never received anything custom. They get leftover
Oh my
stale
gosh.
bakery items.
Hmm.
So for them to see the ice cream cookies and
Made
just
just for them too.
just for them,
Wow.
I mean, I never thought that was even like, that wasn't even on my radar. And when she told me that, she was like, "These kids aren't." She told them that I was the sweet tooth fairy, and she was like, "The sweet tooth fairy is bringing you guys some cookies." And I mean, yeah,
That must have been some amazingly big smiles.
it was. I just am like, I lost so much in all this, but I feel like it's been very uplifting. Like when I think about
Mm.
how many people I was able to, just bring a smile to. They had hundreds of homeless people in Los Angeles coming to pick up meals, and they got this little cookie, the special cookie in their meal. And I never thought I would, be part of something like that. And it was
Well,
just,
and a lot of times it's those things that seem small
mhm,
that have a big impact
yeah,
because it brought a smile to someone's face.
Exactly. It was not anything that was over the top or,
Yeah.
too expensive or anything. It was just like, people, and they put it in like a good perspective for me. She was like, these people have to, food is an essential item. Everyone needs food. And so they're coming to pick up their meal like they always do because a lot of these people rely on these food banks and shelters and all that. But she's like, psychologically, when they see something that was made special for them, they're expecting a bag of Nabisco cookies in their box. And when they see something special, she's like, it's a psychological thing that's way beyond an essential of needing food.
Ooh.
It's like, it triggers happiness, not just like a need. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it like that. And, so it's, I'm trying to figure out how I can keep, because I don't
Well,
have really any business right now. So I can't just keep,
sure.
doing things. So I'm trying to
Sure. Try to
figure
keep
out.
funding it so that it's possible to keep doing
Yeah.
that work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to ask you for a favor.
Yes.
Our mutual colleague Raven Blair Glover
Yes.
is launching the Broadcasters United Lift Up the World event that she's been working on, and it's coming up later this week, and we are doing these quick 2 to 3 minute segments called Good News You Can Use. And I would love to cut a 2 to 3 minute good news you can use. It's not really a commercial, but it's just called a segment, a good news you can use segment with you live as an experiment right now that we could use in the Broadcasters United event if you'd like to.
Yeah. No pressure.
Because of what you were just talking about, it's how that uplifted. You found yourself in such a tough position, and yet at the same time you had that mindset of, okay, yeah, this is stressful, this is a horrible situation to be in, what can I do that's going to be positive? And it turned out to be uplifting and have such a bigger impact.
Mm.
And we can just riff on that for a couple minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
And as you're watching us, welcome to experimental TV. We're gonna cut a live commercial of sorts, or a PSA. Actually, we're gonna do a live PSA. We're gonna cut a PSA live here as you're watching. So, as I like to say, laugh with me, laugh at me, just laugh and come along for the ride. So, what I'll do, I'll give it a couple beats. I'll do a quick intro.
Okay.
And we'll do a little bit of post-production editing so we can work in some of the pictures of what we're talking about.
Okay.
And I'd like to talk, we'll just go from how you found yourself in a position where your business was pretty much wiped out with the announcement of the Great Shutdown, and what you did with that, the cookies, the special cookies that you made, and then how that went beyond to the women's shelter and the homeless shelters and the effect that had.
Yeah.
Awesome. So here we go.
Ask me questions, or am I gonna have? How does this
work? I'll prompt it.
Okay.
And set it up for you and kind of guide it. And I'll probably interrupt a lot because this will be, since this is a 2 to 3 minute shorter segment, to keep the energy up. This will be a little bit this will be faster paced.
Okay, interrupt me because I ramble.
You do. You tell incredible story. That's why I just sit back and I go, oh yeah, the host, I need to say something, because I get caught in your story and just go, man, that is amazing.
Oh, thank you. No, interrupt me if I.
Okay. So here we go. So we're going to take a deep breath.
Also, how many people are watching this right now?
We have a reach live. I'm getting feedback that we've got like a whopping maybe 20.
Oh, that's so cool.
That are on live.
Oh, that's
we're getting a little bit of interaction, but then the overall reach has been several thousand.
That is really cool. Yeah, you're doing such a good job with.
So, thank you. Well, this is one of the things that I did with going, okay, my plans for the year got wiped out. What am I going to do? And met Ken Walls. Thanks again, Ken, who is the king of live stream. And he coached me on getting, he goes, look, do this. This is a way you can continue to reach out and do something brand new.
It's so cool.
So, and we are live streaming to 2 different Facebook platforms, Periscope and YouTube, simultaneously right now.
That's so cool.
I haven't gotten approval from LinkedIn yet to do that. So hopefully we'll be able to live stream there too.
That is so cool.
So here's what we do. I'm gonna freeze. It'll look like I'm freeze frame. It's going to take a breath, give it a couple beats so that we can edit from that section forward, and I'll do a quick intro and we'll go right into that segment.
Cool. See what happens.
Okay. Here we go. Hi, welcome to Good News You Can Use. I am Wolf, your Good News You Can Use reporter for Broadcasters United, and we have an incredible good news story that you are going to be inspired by and also get some gold nuggets that you can apply in your life and in your business. We have an entrepreneur, award-winning entrepreneur and philanthropist with us today that is sharing her story of how she created a massive impact by just looking for small tasks that she could do after the Great Shutdown started. Well, please welcome Sarah Bucksbaum. Sarah, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. This is so cool to be part of.
I'm so glad that you're part of it as well. When the Great Shutdown was announced, you have a dessert catering business that pretty much wiped you out, didn't it?
Yes, overnight.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh!
very quick and painful.
Wow. Because
Yeah.
you already had, as I understand, you already had several events that were planned, booked. You had bought everything you needed to create the desserts, the dessert trays, and everything for those events. A huge wedding, was it?
Yeah, I mean, my whole calendar was booked through the end of 2020. And
Wow.
then the weekend that things started to get shut down, I had a huge wedding and a baby shower planned that weekend that got canceled.
Oh
And
my
I had
gosh.
already bought, all the ingredients for it. So I had tons and tons of stuff in my fridge.
Yeah. So how many people had you bought ingredients to prepare food for?
Over 300 people.
Oh, so this
Yeah.
isn't like, the refrigerator's full because we were going to have family for the weekend that decided not to come. Oh my gosh.
No, it was I mean, I create these huge dessert tables for events. So I had one wedding that was over 200 people, and then the baby shower had about 100 people, and I think I had two other small orders that weekend too.
Wow.
So it was a lot of stuff.
So then I saw in the media that you pretty quickly though adapted that to beginning to bake for doctors and nurses at the hospitals and in the care centers.
Yeah, so I had I love my city that I live in. I live in Ventura County, and I had all this stuff in my fridge, and I started to see friends who were nurses and doctors, and I started to hear about the impact it was having. Uh,
Hmm.
Firemen, paramedics, all the first responders. And I'm like, well, I have all this stuff. I might as well make it. It's just going to go bad. So I started, I got in the kitchen. I started making everything, cupcakes and cookies and things with all these ingredients. And
But
just
then how did you deliver these to
so
them?
I,
Because now you're talking thousands of cupcakes.
well, I mean, so I'm used to doing, thousands of items
Ah,
because
oh, yeah.
of that's what they were for was, for these big events. So I have my big boxes and all that, but I had to go one step further because of the precautions I had to take. I had to wear a
Oh.
mask and gloves and sanitizer and all of that. And so I already had luckily gloves and everything because I use them anyway. Um, like food safety is a very big thing for me because I deal with a lot of food
Hmm.
allergies. And so I just started researching everything I needed to do to make this safe. And
Hmm.
I just started baking and delivering to the fire station, the police station, the hospital. And then I got such a good response from it that I posted it on Facebook and Instagram. And I was very honest. I said, look, I was able to do this because I had the supplies already. I already lost the money. But I just lost thousands of dollars overnight. So if you guys want to buy a cupcake for a nurse and pay it forward, I set up a little link on Square and I opened it up and had a great response from people and was able to keep it going for like 2 months.
Well, and it was such a big response that you got picked up by the regional paper in Ventura County and
Yeah.
even got an order from New York for 5,000 cookies.
Yeah. I was in two local papers, a few local articles, and then it made it nationwide. I was shipping stuff to New York,
Oh
and
my
they, I
gosh.
mean, as everyone knows, were really impacted. Uh,
Hmm.
I had people ordering, I was shipping to their house, and then they were delivering it to hospitals in New York. Um, it was nationwide. It just,
And they were custom,
yeah,
like the cookies, and you'll see this in the photo that we're sharing with you. The cookies were made to look like little soaps and aspirin pills and whatnot, but instead they had little messages on them, which was incredible.
yes, I wanted it to be not just here's a thank you, but I like all of my
Hmm.
products to be extra special and give, I like to spread joy. I
Yes.
in the dessert industry, it's so fun. I'm celebrating something. And so I wanted these people who are working so hard and literally saving lives to feel extra special, not just like, here you go, here's some leftovers from the bakery. This is
Mhm.
something that was made for them as a token of appreciation.
Well, and that it made them feel extra special because it was made specifically for them, which led to something that was even more surprising because you ended up being asked to make specialty items like that for people beyond healthcare and first responders, didn't you?
Yeah, so it started out as a movement for first responders who
Hmm.
were, their lives were flipped upside down because of coronavirus. Then another issue was brought to my attention that the women's shelter and
Oh,
the
yeah.
homelessness level, and that all, there's so many other things going on. These people were already struggling, and then I had never even thought about it, about all the women who were in, now stuck at home in an abusive relationship, and all these other problems were brought to my attention. And so it was, the Alexandria House is the organization in Los Angeles who they also stepped up. They have a shelter, but they started feeding homeless. And
Oh,
these
wow.
children who had never received anything other than, some pre-packaged meals. And I'm like, I want to get in on this and bring a smile to them. And they're it was just, yeah, I can't even express when
Well,
the feedback.
it's because the joy that must have brought to people that are on the street, they're suffering, kids that are in that environment, some of them because of what's just recently happened with the Great Shutdown during the pandemic,
Yeah.
that to bring that kind of joy because they've got something that you made specific for them.
Yeah, they had told me that many of these kids had never received anything. They don't have birthday parties. They don't.
Wow.
Everything that they've gotten has always been left over from a bakery or a restaurant. It's always been, oh, we were going to throw it away anyway, so here you
Mm,
go.
yeah.
And now I was able to come in and bring, give them something. Yeah, I put them in a little package for them. There were these little ice cream cones with, smiley face, and they had never received anything like that. And they couldn't believe it. I mean, my contact at Alexandria House was telling me, she's like, some of these kids are in their 20s and they've never had anything fresh and
Oh
custom.
my gosh.
And it's just so sad because I never really thought about it because I'm so used to doing these, big elaborate events and
Hmm.
parties and everything. And obviously I'm aware that that's not, I didn't grow up with parties like that, but I never
Right.
really thought, but you know, I've
Well,
still
and
got a
the
birthday cake.
work you do through the foundation that you've set up as well. So it's not that it's new that people are living in hardship and
Yeah,
you've made a life, a part of your career, part of your lifestyle has been doing work with and for people that are experiencing hard times
yeah.
for a number of years. But I want to add one more thing because we're running out of time. It just because there's such an outpouring of people that responded to the, hey,
Mhm.
buy a buy a cupcake for a first responder or a doctor or nurse, that you were able to hire two other people.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing is I started to get more orders than I could keep up with. And I have, people who help me anyway, but I was able to bring back two moms who have two young children at home who are in the same industry as I am, and they hadn't had work either. They lost everything, and I don't have any kids. They had
Wow.
two kids each to feed, and so I was able to bring them on and do hundreds and hundreds of cookies. And, they were in tears. They were like, we haven't worked. We, and, when you're
Mm.
in the creative industry, it takes a toll on you to not be able to do that. And just when you have nothing to do. And, and so it helped on so many levels. I mean, I'm able to help, bring a smile to the kids. I'm able to help be part of a movement to feed the homeless people of Los Angeles, which is especially now, a huge issue. I'm thanking all the first responders, but I'm also putting jobs back into, and being able to help them feed their family. And
Hmm.
so it was just, it all just came full circle. And it's just,
Wow.
it's pretty crazy when I think
And,
about.
well, and even, bringing something, an experience that the people that are supported by the shelters have never had some in their entire life, that lets them know that, what, there's someone that cares
Mhm.
enough that this food, this cookie, this dessert was designed specifically for you.
Yes. And that was, like I said, I feel a lot of people, I think, we're so removed from a lot of issues that are really going on. And I mean, I don't usually think I am. I have my foundation. I've been in the poorest parts of the world over the last 10 years. But I mean, this is 30 minutes away from me.
Hmm.
Hundreds of people are lining up because they don't have food. And it was very eye-opening, and it was really special to be part of. And I'm working on continuing that into, everything that I'm doing, because it like I said, it's 30 minutes away from where I live, and these kids had never had anything special. And
Hmm.
so,
Well, and Sarah, you set such a great example. You're an inspiration. You set a great example to follow, and you also demonstrate how, if we look just a little bit beyond our normal range of vision, it's amazing what we can see and the small things that we can do that can have a big impact. That truly is good news you can use. So thank you for joining us, Sarah. Thank you for watching this segment of Good News You Can Use. I'm Wolf, your Good News You Can Use reporter for Broadcasters United.
thank you. That's so cool.
Boom. There we go. So I let 3 minutes become about 8, but we'll work with that in post production.
Cut it out. Cut the
Uh,
ramp.
that- thank you for doing that. And
No,
and
that's so cool.
as you're watching this, thank you for coming along for the ride with us. And we'll share what the final product looks like for the PSA for that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. It's so cool, all the stuff you're doing.
Thank you.
It's it's really cool to see how many people are getting creative during this.
Yeah, it is. And that was something that I've talked. My wife Alice, she says hello. This is why we call her the stealth wife. You never see her. You know of her, but you never see her or get a chance to meet her, because she's always so busy. But something we talk about, but also you and I've talked about it off as part of the pre-show, and also other people that I've been working with over the last couple months, where it seems like everybody's focused like that, which isn't
Mhm.
really true. But it's so good to be surrounded by so many people like yourself that are setting examples of going, yeah, it's tough, and here's what I'm doing.
Exactly. I mean,
You know.
it's so cool and inspires me. I mean, that's kind of how all this started, as I started to see what other people were doing, and I'm like, how can I be part of that? And then people were messaging me and saying I inspired them to do that in their town. And it's just like, yeah, I mean,
Wow.
that I mean, that's my favorite part about being an entrepreneur anyway,
Hmm.
is so many things. Like with Nashville, I never thought that was going to be a thing. With so many things, but when you have an open mind and you just kind of roll with it, and yeah, I mean, there are so many things that have happened that I'm so grateful that I have already experienced loss, all these other things, because now it makes me a little bit more flexible, I think,
Hmm.
to create a bigger impact. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it'll be
It,
interesting to see what happens.
the entrepreneur life, we're really working to provide value, find problems and provide solutions. The solutions, I do talk at times, uh, identify problems and offer solutions that people value. That's what it's all about.
Yep, exactly. It's a crazy ride, but
Sarah, I'm watching the clock. We've run like 20 minutes over past what I said we would do, and I appreciate you making time to
of
talk with us on
course,
Wolf's Watch. It
of
is
course.
it's an amazing journey, and I am glad to have met you along that journey. And this is, as you're watching this is like the third interview we've done now, the third time we've
I
gotten
think
together to chat.
so. I think, yeah, third.
So
I know we've covered skydiving. We've talked about all kinds of fun things.
so it sounds like there'll probably be at least a fourth conversation somewhere down the road, so we can
Oh,
come back to some of the more adventure stuff.
I'm sure, and I'll be here.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Because you're tenacious. It's one of the key determinants for success as an entrepreneur is like, can you stick with it? Are you disciplined and tenacious to not give up when it gets tough or there's a complicated problem that needs to be solved?
Exactly. Got to keep pushing.
What's the best way to keep in touch with you now? Is it still your original brand or?
Yep. So everything I
Okay.
do is under the Celebrate with Sarah brand. So if you go to celebratewithsarah.com, you can see, my personal stuff, my dessert, my Nashville, and my foundation. Everything's on there. Instagram, Celebrate with Sarah. Facebook, Celebrate with Sarah. Everything's under that brand. So,
And with the current environment that we all find ourselves in, we need to celebrate a lot.
yes.
So celebrate with Sarah.
Thank you. Yes, that's where you can find me.
Sarah, thank you so much. And thank you for watching.
So
if you like what you see, if you're on Facebook, please like our Adventure CEO page. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the page and hit notifications so you can see what's coming up next. And we will talk with you soon. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for watching and joining the conversation.
Thank you so much.